They say, do they not, that there's truly no friends in the political world. And obviously this week, the current British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is finding that out. But now are things taking a turn for the worst, or indeed the better? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the very heart of London at the side of Parliament today. That is the home of all the skullduggery that goes on. Oh boy, if you went in there like I do, you truly would have curly hair. It is so dramatic at every turn and corner, simply because, of course, government is one of those powerful things that affects so many people. I've often said here on the show, it's best to become impartial. There are certain topics that are not worth really discussing. This one, though, truly did catch my eye. And I think, like me, you'll agree, it's really somebody trying to just gain some attention to themselves. It already centres on the 90s throwback that is the artist Tracey Emin. Now, do you remember, if you do remember the 90s, of course, you may be younger than that, she basically shot to fame because her piece of art, which was in fact her unmade bed, her room, well, was sold for thousands of pounds. Apparently it made her become a multi-millionaire. And then, of course, she was one of those controversial artists that really sort of made the 90s their own. Any party that needed attending, she was there. A little bit like the Oasis boys and that sort of stuff, you know. It was definitely a moment in time. Did I like it? Well, I think we've all had a messy bedroom at one time or another, and I certainly couldn't sell mine for thousands of pounds, but nonetheless, good for her. But here as ever is where the story gets interesting, because Tracey apparently met David Cameron, the former British Prime Minister, and then decided that she would now like to join, rather than the Labour Party, the Conservative Party. So thrilled she was with Mr Cameron that she then donated a piece of her artwork, this illuminated sign, allegedly worth £250,000. Right? I don't know about you, but I've seen better things in the pound shop. But if people will buy it, then of course they will buy it. And apparently it's been in number 10 Downing Street for the last few years now. Interesting to note, though, that Tracey, obviously seeking some kind of publicity and ready as ever to jump on any bandwagon, has now decided that she wants the artwork returned, particularly while the current British Prime Minister, as I say, Boris Johnson, is in residence, because she doesn't feel that the artwork reflects what she apparently gave it for originally. You get the picture. Now, I don't know about you, but when I looked at it, truly, I thought, how much? And is this really art? I mean, could I not come up with that with some curly wire and electrics? But as ever, these people are able to make a career out of it, and more importantly, they know exactly how to draw attention to themselves. Now, here as ever, for me, is where the story truly gets rather interesting. Of course, note that there's been this ongoing battle about the refurbishment of the flat above number 10 Downing Street. You know, let's be honest, it's a series of rooms there. It's not a house like people think. Over 94 people work in those offices, so it's a very, very busy official residence for the British Prime Minister. But what I've been told is that the current occupiers weren't very keen on that illuminated sign. So it's already been taken down and it's somewhere in the cellar. So Tracey, when you're ready, you can collect it. No doubt it'll be by the bins. And as ever, of course, Tracey will turn that into some sort of publicity stunt to remind people that she's still relevant and in fact hasn't quite left the 90s. Whichever way you look at it, you do kind of have to admire the way these people exploit each other in order to make sure that they get the maximum gain in the world of publicity. As ever, let me know what you think to this particular story. Would you want this hanging in your lounge? And do you really think it's worth £250,000? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.